I look at it as a collaborator, not an employee. So almost like someone that you work with on your team, but not something that you just say, hey, go do this thing and like good luck, right? Um, I think it's dangerous to fully outsource something 100% to AI because we all know that it makes mistakes and it hallucinates. Sometimes it'll do the most complex things for me really well, but then it'll mess up 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? So it's always going to hallucinate. And you always need to have a human involved at some point. Like I like to come in at the beginning and the end. So I call it the 10-80-10 rule, where like the first 10% I'm there to help kind of set the stage and guide AI what I want it to do, and then it does that middle part, and then I come in at the end. And usually, like most of the time, not always. There's definitely times where its first attempt is pretty good, but most of the time, when I'm editing whatever AI is doing for me, there's something to fix or something to change, right? So, at least in the current, in the current day and age, it needs that human touch.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about AI-powered outbound sales. AI is the topic of the decade. And you may have been consuming different types of AI use cases, considering using them in their business. But I don't know what you know about sales. I'm, getting started in this process. I'm not going to say I'm the expert, but I am fairly well experienced in AI tools, and we've got a private GPT for our book, How to Have Tough Conversations, absolutely free. If you want to get a download of that, just let us know. But we are using AI in different ways to better serve our clients. We're using AI to boost the business in different ways. And if you're curious about AI-powered outbound sales, today's episode is for you. We have AJ Cassata with Revenue Boost. And AJ, their company really focuses on B2B marketing and really how to use AI empowered way to collaborate with your current appointment setters or SDRs to get results. So if you're curious about that, please tune in today and you'll learn some insights from AJ. AJ's had over 600 campaigns that he's run around this. And I do want to disclose this up front. I did not charge him to be here. This is not sponsored. I was just curious about it, and I thought you might be curious too. So that's the reason he is a guest today. It may sound like it's a pitch to you in some way, but I'm not vouching for AJ, but I do feel like he's got some insight to share with you. And if you are curious, you can check him out at Revenue Boost. He gives his email later. That being said, you're going to have to listen to the whole thing to be able to get that email. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm a CEO coach. We do coaching and leadership development for mostly fast growth companies. And inside fast growth companies, CEOs typically feel like they're, have to work harder, or they feel like they're always behind. They feel like they're pulling people, and it isn't the best way to scale your company. And what we found is there's some things missing that you have to go back and rebuild, because once you find that product market fit and you start running with it, you forget about some of the foundational elements that help you create a company that runs without you. Now, if I've got your attention, you want to go a little bit deeper, go to the next training that we have on this. Just go to training.coreelevation.com. You can sign up to learn how to build a business that runs without you. And if you are the most valuable person in your business, you definitely want to be there. If you're making decisions, if you feel like you're the bottleneck of the company, you definitely want to check out this training. It's absolutely free, and it will help you become a better leader as well. Just go to training.coreelevation.com. With all that being said, today's interview with AJ about AI-powered outbound sales is just for you. Take it away, AJ. AJ, how are you?
Hey, Gene, I'm doing great, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I am excited to talk to you. We're going to be diving into AI-powered outbound. Before we go any further, tell us about what you're up to with your company, Revenue Boost.
Yeah, for sure. So Revenue Boost is a B2B marketing agency. We typically work with B2B SaaS companies, consulting companies, agencies, and we help them with generating leads and filling their sales pipeline, typically through outbound, which is what we're going to talk about today. So we just run campaigns on behalf of our clients, do a little bit of consulting as well. And by now, I think I've probably worked on like 600 to 700 different outbound campaigns. So I've learned quite a lot and excited to share all of that with your audience so that they can try it themselves if they want to get started or if they're already running some campaigns that aren't really producing the best leads for them.
Well, I think that anybody who's in a B2B sales should be looking at this. And today, hopefully, we pull out of you some of the big insights you've had over these 600, 700 campaigns. Where do you want to start? Like if you were a CEO, we're talking to CEOs because that's who's listening in here, about AI powered outbound, what would you say?
Yeah, for sure. So I would just say, first, probably a lot of people are asking like, should I do this? Is it working? I hear this a lot. I receive a lot of really bad cold emails. Like, does this even still work, right? So if you're even just considering, whether it's a worthy channel for you or not, I would just say the first thing is like definitely test it because it is a great channel. It still works. It's pretty timeless. It's like always been around, right? Before there was cold email, there was just cold calling and door knocking, right? And then even direct mail. So it's one of those channels that I think will never go away, and it's always just a very once you can crack it, it's a very reliable and consistent source of leads for you. I think at the same time, it's just very low cost and low risk to test out. So, compared to some other marketing channels, which could have a pretty high barrier to entry, like if you're running paid ads, what I love about this is you can test it out for pretty cheap, right? You can just run campaigns for a month, a couple months. And of course, you can hire an agency for you, or you can do it yourself and really just spend a few $100 a month on software tools if you were to take the time to actually do it and learn it. So, if you're trying to like break into a new market or launch a new product or an offer or test something out, you can definitely test it for a pretty low budget and then scale later. So yeah, it's just such a powerful channel. Like for some of our clients, it's their number one source of leads, and it's so targeted too. So if you're also trying to maybe move up market or just work with a certain industry that just doesn't really come to you organically, that's also a great use case for it because you're really like essentially what you're doing is you're building a list and you're reaching out one to one to everyone on that list. But you're doing that at scale, right? And then you're doing that on either cold email or LinkedIn or cold calling. But the cool thing about that is you can actually like pick every single person that you reach out to, which isn't really possible with any other marketing channel.
So let's break this down. You talked about email first, then you threw in LinkedIn just there. I got a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn right now, but you've got all these campaigns that you've run. What is the effectiveness of email versus LinkedIn?
Yeah, so to me, they just play two different parts in the ecosystem because on LinkedIn, you will have the highest response rate because if I message you on LinkedIn, you can look at my profile, you can see my work history, you can read all about me, you can see a real face, you can see that I'm not like some computer program or some AI, right? So there's a lot of just trust on LinkedIn because people actually can check you out. And also, if someone is just the fact that someone's a LinkedIn user kind of shows that they're a little bit qualified because people go on LinkedIn and they log on to network and meet people that can help them grow their business, right? So on LinkedIn, you could see like 5 or 10 times the response rate. However, you're also very limited by volume. So you can only really connect and message 100 to 150 people per week because of LinkedIn's limitation. Whereas with email, you can just get more inboxes and send more emails, right? So email will have a lower response rate, but you have pretty much infinite volume you can send out, and it's quite easy to automate. LinkedIn, it's a very small amount of outreach you can do, but it's going to get a much higher response rate. So when I say it plays a different part in the ecosystem, LinkedIn is good to maybe take like your best accounts or maybe your warmest leads and just really focus on working them because again, you can't get a lot of outreach out, but you'll have a much higher chance of actually hearing back from people. So that's really good for your best accounts, and then email is best for everyone else to really get the volume out there.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I got to ask the question, and I'm going to tip my hat here. Every time I log into LinkedIn, I get pitched left and right. There's nothing really of value in there. There's nothing coming in like a client going, "Hey, I saw the video. I'd love to work with you. I saw you on the podcast," or "We've got a speech coming up," or "I love your book." Like none of that stuff comes in. It's always like, "Hey, can we have can I share with you my offer? Can we do a coffee chat? Can we do, they're asking for things before I even know who they are."
Hmm.
And I know there's people out there that are doing programs and showing people how to outreach on LinkedIn. And it's just gotten so much. And I'm not alone. A lot of the CEOs I talk to are like, it's a shit show over there on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so definitely just do it differently than everyone else because my LinkedIn inbox is also pretty flooded. But there's a way that you can, and I think it's also great if you notice how your LinkedIn is, and if you see a lot of outreach you get that doesn't really catch your attention, because you can start to look at that and see like, okay, well, how can I do the opposite of that, right? So there's a couple things you can do that make your outreach seem a lot more human, personal, and really just like non-spammy. One is you can research the person you're reaching out to, right? Half the time it's like I'm getting an outreach message from someone that clearly doesn't even know what I do Very often I'll get an outreach message from another company that also provides cold email services, and I'm like, I'm your competitor. Like, obviously, you shouldn't be reaching out to me. You didn't really put much thought into this list, right? So researching is really important. Like, if I was to reach out to you and maybe comment on something about a recent podcast of yours, or talk about something you posted, or maybe I see that you're posting for a job role about something, right? Like maybe in your case, right, as a leadership development coach, you can reach out to a company, you can look at their job postings. Maybe you see that they're hiring a new COO, and that's a big change in the company, and you can use that as a reason for like, hey, well, there's obviously with that big change happening, we're here to help you navigate that, right, and make sure that things are still pretty smooth during that transition, right? Versus just saying, hey, do you want leadership development coaching, right? So it's so easy to find out anything about a company nowadays, right? So if you just take a few minutes, or even have AI do this for you, to research the person, the company, any news that's happening recently, that makes the world of difference, because people just really feel like, okay, this person took the time and like they did their homework and this is actually relevant to me, right? That's one thing. The second thing is you can also just actually give value. So not everything has to be a coffee chat, which we all just know is like a code for I'm going to pitch you my thing, right? Not everything has to be just asking for a call right away. You could just give an insight. You could give a lead magnet, give something for free. That's a great way to start off a conversation, especially on LinkedIn, where it's pretty like inundated with just people asking for your time.
Now, I know you're doing AI powered outbound, and you mentioned AI can do it for you. Can you walk us through how that works with LinkedIn? I would imagine it's very similar with email, but like if we're going to send a very personalized message to someone that's going to be different than what we're receiving, that doesn't work, that offends us in some ways, how is AI doing that research and putting it into a personalized message on either chat platform?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few ways we're using AI, but what you just mentioned is probably our favorite way, because that really, again, just makes the biggest difference when you can actually reach out to someone with a very tailored message. So there's a few tools, but the tool that we use is called clay.com. If you guys look it up, there'll be like tutorials on how to use it. But essentially what it is so the first step of outbound is you build a list, right? You could build that list on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You could build that list on a database like Apollo if you're doing cold email outreach. Zoom Info, there's a bunch of tools that some of your audience might be familiar with. But Clay is where you can actually take that list and you can connect it to Clay, and then you can run AI agents to actually research anything you want about a lead. So you could say, let's say I'm running a Facebook ads agency and I provide Facebook marketing services. I could basically prompt the AI agents in this tool to say, hey, check this lead and tell me if they're running Facebook ads or not, or tell me what ads they're running, or how much they might be spending, right? And you can do that with pretty much anything, right? So anything that you would want to find out about a company or a person, anything that's at least available like on the internet, which is a lot of things, you would prompt these AI agents to just research and then come back to you with some information about that lead. And then you could say, hey, now I want you to insert that into this email template. So just like how when you launch like an email campaign and you would put like the first name in brackets so that it customizes the first name to who you're reaching out to, you can do that with whole sentences or keywords or anything that you would want to like pull from your research to put into a template to sound very, very human.
So it takes your template, and I'm letting in the secrets here. We invite mostly Inc. 5000 companies to come to the podcast, and we do the research manually. What was your
Yeah.
number? What was your percentage of growth? Who's the name of the CEO? Doesn't matter what data we collect, but we collect personal information, and we have a template, and it goes out to all the people. And you guys could do this at scale through AI.
Yeah, so the best way to put it is anything that you or your salespeople are doing manually when they're researching lead, you could pretty much do with AI. Because at the end of the day, all they're doing is looking at things online, copying and pasting, organizing it into an email, right?
Yep. And so Clay is the platform of choice. That's just writing the email, or is that actually sending it out?
That's just doing the research and then writing the email, and then you would connect that to a sequencer tool.
Okay. Um, I don't want to jump into too much of the detail. I love detail and tactics. I appreciate you being here, but I know we've got a limited amount of time together. Like, what are two or three mistakes that people make when they're trying to do AI powered outbound?
Yeah, for sure. So one is just definitely not doing enough. There's been a lot of times where someone's been like, hey, can you audit my campaign and tell me why it's not working? And then I see that they've only sent 200 emails, right? And you really have to just do a lot of volume with outbound. But again, it's you can automate most of it. So sending 1,000 or 2,000 a day might even seem like pretty big task, but it's really not, because you can set up a campaign once. But at the end of the day, in any market, there's only a small percentage of people that are actually in need of what you're selling at this moment, and only a small percentage of them are actually even going to open an email and read it and respond, right? Like for cold email especially, a good reply rate is like 1, 2, 3%. So you really have to get the volume out there. And especially it's even more so the case for different services you might be selling. Like let's say that you're selling branding services or rebranding. Well, companies don't rebrand more often than every like 5 or 10 years, like at a minimum, right? So you really would have to get through a lot of people to find who's actually just looking for this right now. So one is the volume. People really underestimate that, sales is for sure a numbers game. Two is the messaging. Like most of the messaging should be about the person you're reaching out to and the problems that they have in their role, not about you. So I like to say that it's about the problems over the product. Most messaging I get is really just, hey, this is my name and I'm the CEO and this is my company and this is what we do. And it's like a brochure, right? It's all about them. But if you're reaching out to me and you're a stranger, like I don't really have a reason to care about like you or your company or what you do. I just want to know if you can help me, right? So really in the first two sentences, you should be getting to how can you help this person, right? It should be about, their world, their problems, their industry, some insight you can offer them, and just show that you can actually help them. Because again, this is cold outreach, right? These aren't people that opted in to hear from your company. You're trying to get your foot in the door, so it should really be with something about them. That's the biggest mistake I see in messaging. And then also is just not segmenting lists. So if you just take like 40,000 companies and you just put it into one campaign on LinkedIn or email or you call them or whatever it is, that's a big mistake because all those 40,000 people have different scenarios, right? Like the way that you should speak to a CEO is different than the way that you should speak to a VP of marketing, right? These people have different KPIs they're measured on, different language they use, right? Different problems, different priorities. If you're talking to a small business that has 10 employees versus one that has 100, that should be also a fundamentally different message because again, they have different priorities, different goals, and just different ways of thinking, right? So it's more work to do this, but that's also definitely like worth the time and a big mistake I see.
I would imagine AI can help you with segmenting if you really do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the same tool I mentioned earlier, you could say, "Hey, I want you to if they're in this industry, send them to campaign A. If they're in this industry, send them to campaign B, or do it by role or function or geography or anything else."
Um, Great. So went over the mistakes. Let's talk about, you know, where AI is today, because what we've been focusing on. I think before we cut on the recorder, this would have picked up. I don't know if this to be true, but there's a lot of people out there saying that AI can make phone calls for you. We probably listened. I have been curious enough to go, what are these like? And then 6 months ago, I listened to some of them, and they were sort of like blooper reels. They're like, "Hi, my name's Jeff," and they're like, "Hi, Cindy, how are you?" There were
Yeah.
some little moments like that, and you laugh about it, and like, I don't want that to happen to me. Like, we're not ready for that. But I was listening to one literally yesterday as we're preparing for this conversation with you, AJ, and it was damn good. It was,
Hmm.
it literally is like this was the scenario, as I remember. The guy signs up for a lead magnet, and the AI does an outbound call going, "Hey, just want to make sure you got the lead magnet, and see if you have any questions." And he goes, "Is this AI?" And he goes, "Yes, it is." It's like, "Great, I do have some questions." And they going back and forth, and it was pretty good. Like there was even a little bit of humor in there. Because I think the guy responded in this example was like, he goes, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a godlike consultant in this area." He goes, "Oh, godlike." He goes, "You think highly of yourself." The AI had that kind of personality to it, which I was very surprised. It made me chuckle.
Yeah.
But are we at the place right now where companies should be considering beyond just email and LinkedIn messages, doing outbound calls through AI?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get there. I think in simple scenarios, right? Like, if you're definitely in like a complex B2B selling environment that requires a lot of nuance, then like you don't want to be, cold calling a CEO of a thousand person company with AI, right? But I think for simple things like booking an appointment, scheduling, maybe just doing some quick qualification, like in like that scenario you mentioned, I think that's a great use for it. And then who knows, over time, as it's only like all of this is only going to get more and more advanced, which is crazy because I think it's only been a few years that ChatGPT came out, right? It's crazy to think how early we are in the process and how much it's improved even since it first came out. So it's only going to get better. But yeah, at this time, it feels like it's great for just simple use cases, but nothing too complex. Because yeah, at the end of the day, like once you have someone who's, booked an appointment, like you really just want to have a salesperson to actually like those are your highest value leads, right? Someone who's actually ready and they want to have a serious conversation. So I wouldn't be using it too much farther in the sales process, but for that like initial SDR work, it's that's a great use case for it.
Let's dive into the heart of this. And I want to give you a chance to like fill in any gaps we had that you feel like we need to address before we close the conversation. But some of the things that are on my mind around this is I don't think AI is replacing anyone, but I think it's amplifying the work. So if you had a one SDR using AI enabled outbound, they could probably get done two or three or four or five times as much work because maybe they're sending out, 5,000 emails in a month.
Mm.
Whereas if they were doing those manually, they might get to 500.
Yeah.
Is that the way you see it? Is it's an enhancement to the people in your team, and maybe you don't need to hire as many people, or are we getting to the place where we're like from an outbound SDR kind of role, AI can do all of it?
Yeah, I think the same goes for outbound as for really any function in a company. It's really a great enhancer, like you said. I look at it as a collaborator, not an employee. So almost like someone that you work with on your team, but not something that you just say, "Hey, go do this thing," and like good luck, right? Um, I think it's dangerous to fully outsource something 100% to AI because we all know that it makes mistakes and it hallucinates. Sometimes it'll do the most complex things to me really well, but then it'll mess up 2 + 2 = 4, right? So it's always going to hallucinate. And you always need to have a human involved at some point. Like I like to come in at the beginning and the end. So I call it the 10-80-10 rule, where like the first 10% I'm there to help kind of set the stage and guide AI what I want it to do. And then it does that middle part. And then I come in at the end. And usually, like most of the time, not always, there's definitely times where its first attempt is pretty good. But most of the time, when I'm editing whatever AI is doing for me, there's something to fix or something to change, right? So at least in the current, in the current day and age, it needs that human touch.
So AJ, we've talked about a lot of things today. You were here, so I'm not going to recount those for you. But what did we miss on this? If you were sitting down with a CEO, chatting with them about the opportunity of AI enabled outbound, what do you want to make sure that they take away from that conversation?
Yeah, so for one thing is definitely try it. It's such a powerful channel. Like I said, it's predictable, it's consistent, it's targeted to get you a better quality of lead. But also give it a proper test, right? Like you might launch outbound and maybe you try some cold email campaigns or some LinkedIn, and in the first month, maybe it doesn't get you anything. But if you do it for at least 3 to 6 months and really give it the time to try several approaches, test different messaging, test different lists, you will get it to work. Like we've never had a client not get leads from it. Now, obviously, for some businesses, it'll work better than for others, but it's always a way to get leads because at the end of the day, everyone in your target market has an email, usually a phone number as well, right? So it's always just a way to like it's always going to be a reliable way to connect with your target audience. And then other than that, I would just say just know that there's 5 things that go into every campaign. So if you're currently running some outbound and you're not getting great results, there's only 5 things that you really need to look at. There's either the list, right? Maybe you're not reaching the right people. There's the copy. Maybe you need to adjust your messaging. There's the offer. There's like what you're actually selling. Maybe it's not the right fit for that specific list or what that target market. Then there's the volume, right? You can't just send 10 emails a day and hope you're going to get great results. So you have to make sure you're doing enough volume. And the last one, and this one just applies to email, is deliverability. So you do want to just learn a couple of basic things around how emails get delivered and how spam filters work, so that you're not sending emails that just land directly into the spam folder.
AJ, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your experience of this. 600 to 700 campaigns, pretty impressive. I'm sure you've got a lot of data can help people. Uh, I will say this, I've said it earlier, you didn't pay to be here. I did not charge you anything to share this wisdom, but I just felt like it was a topic that a lot of people are interested in. And where could they go if they want to check out more information from you, AJ?
Yeah, thanks, Gene, and thanks for having me. I hope it was useful to everyone listening, and that they go give it a shot. But the best way to connect with me would be email, which is aj@revenueboost.net, and then the social media that I'm active on would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and then also now YouTube, which is just my name, AJ Cassata.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom.
For sure.
Another fantastic episode here on the podcast. I share all this with you because I feel like you want to be on the cutting edge of not just your company growth, but your own leadership. And in this case, we talked about AI, but if I can help you in any way to help you really boost your company, maybe it's just getting out of the way so that your team can be empowered and they can take more ownership of the work and they can have a higher sense of urgency. Whatever it is, we have experience doing that over the last 10 years. We've worked with more Inc. 5000 level companies in leadership development than anyone else out there. So share this with you. Love to help you in your business. If you're curious about the next training we have, go to training.coreelevation.com. And if you just want to chat with me and get to know me or whatever, send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. With all that being said, when you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. Lead with courage. We'll see you next time.